Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 14th of October and we are going to deal with two very important topics which are in news. The first topic is the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. This is popularly called as the FCRA Act. This law actually regulates the contributions or the donations coming to the NGOs and NPOs based here in India from any foreign countries. Why was this in news? This was in news because the NewsClick founder has been imposed with these cases also under FCRA by the CBI when it is investigating that particular case. It is believed that NewsClick received funding from some unknown foreign sources, and NewsClick has been involved or indulged in spreading the Chinese propaganda over here in the country. So FCRA, as aspirants, it is important for us to know this law, its genesis, when it was passed, how it has evolved, like these. Next is the Global Hunger Index. This index is released every year by an NGO, Welt Hunger Life, which is based out of Europe. And this year, India's ranking is somewhere around 111 out of 125 countries. Last year's India's ranking was 107 out of 121 countries, so we cannot exactly say that it has improved or not. Number of countries, I would say, have increased. India's ranking also has become poorer as compared to last year. Last year it was 107, now it is 111. So let us look into both these topics today. The CBI registered FCRA case against NewsClick and others. Agency conducts searches at two locations. It says company received unexplained funds, violated the rules banning foreign funds for firms producing or broadcasting audio, visual or news programs. So not only NGOs, not only NPOs, but those organizations or those firms producing or broadcasting audio, visual news, they are also kind of regulated, or they are also kind of under the purview of this FCRA, that is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. And they should be, because they can be spreading propaganda of other countries by taking funds from them in our country. It may be a threat to our national sovereignty. So for that purpose, these kind of organizations are also under this purview. Now let us look at the timeline of FCRA. Foreign Contribution Regulation Act was passed in the year 1976 for the first time. 1976 the year is. Originally introduced during emergency. Emergency was going on 1975 to 77. 75, I would say June it started, and 77 March it ended. So in the midst of that, FCRA was introduced to keep a track on foreign influence in social, political, economic and religious decisions. Non-profits were allowed to freely receive foreign donations while reporting the amount spent and received every year. There was no such, I would say, restrictions, but yes, you should be reporting the amount received and spent every year. 1984, it became mandatory for non-profits to register before receiving foreign donations. Means they had to first register themselves under this law to an authority, and registering only will make them eligible for receiving foreign funds. They cannot pass the funds on to other non-registered NGOs. Passing of funds to non-registered NGOs before the authorities, it cannot be possible. This amendment was there in this particular act in 1984. Then comes 2010. In 2010 what happened? This old law, this was repealed and a new FCRA was adopted. The 1976 Act was repealed and replaced by a stricter Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010 along with Foreign Contribution Regulation Rules 2011. What were the changes? Key changes introduced: FCRA registration validity. Now earlier what happened? You registered yourself, means your NGO over here under this authority, the registration was till eternity. It was for lifetime. But now there was this validity which you had to renew registration after every 5 years. Permanent, it was permanent earlier, now it had to be renewed, reduced to 5 years and subjected to renewal. Second was only 50% foreign contributions could be used for administrative expenses. Now what these NGOs and all were doing, they were receiving foreign funds and they were showing it in their books that these funds have been used for administrative expenses. What are the administrative expenses? Traveling, we went here, we went there, we did some research and development, we did some research on the society, we had to pay those people who carried out the research. These kind of expenses are called as the administrative expenses. There was no cap on administrative expenses, but according to this new law, the new law included, that more than 50% of the foreign funding received cannot be diverted for administrative expenses. That limitation should be there. And earlier there was no limitation in the 1976 Act. These were the key changes. And in 2020, there was another amendment in that FCRA law which was passed in 2010, which made the law more stringent, more, I would say, the clamping of the government over these kind of people. It strengthened. So what are the changes 2010 versus 2020, the present version? We will see over here in this video. The 2010 and 2020 provisions: prohibition to accept foreign contribution. Now what is this? Under the Act, certain persons are prohibited to accept foreign contribution. They cannot accept it at all. Who are these persons? Election candidates, editor or publisher of a newspaper, news click is here, judges, government servants, members of any legislature and political parties, among others. In 2007, Ministry of Home Affairs through the Finance Bill route paved the way for political parties to receive foreign funds. Politicians passing a bill and allowing political parties to receive these foreign funds, exempting them from this particular list. But these funds should be received from Indian subsidiary of a foreign company or a foreign company in which an Indian holds 50% or more shares. In 2020 amendment, it added public servants also to this list, that public servants were also prohibited from receiving foreign contribution. Transfer of foreign contribution. Now, let's suppose I own an NGO, I have an NGO, I run an NGO and I receive foreign contribution. I'm a registered NGO with FCRA authority. Now, can I transfer this fund to other NGOs? This we'll see. Now, under the Act, foreign contribution cannot be transferred to any other person unless such person is also registered to accept foreign contribution or has obtained prior permission under the Act to obtain foreign contribution. This was there in 2010, but in 2020 amendment prohibited the transfer of foreign contribution to any registered, non-registered. I cannot transfer. My organization has received it, my organization will utilize it. It is simple as that. No transferring of these funds to other organizations, registered, unregistered, so we cannot do. Aadhaar for registration. The 2020 amendment made it compulsory or mandated that any person seeking prior permission, registration or renewal for registration must provide Aadhaar number. In case of a foreigner, copy of passport or the OCI card, Overseas Citizen of India card, should be provided. But the Supreme Court in April 2022 read down this section and said that Aadhaar is not mandatory. A person can furnish other identity proof as well for this purpose. FCRA account. Now, I am receiving foreign funds. In which account? Where is that account to be? That is also kind of, I would say, big question. So, earlier, according to the 2010 Act, a registered person must accept foreign contribution only in a single branch of a scheduled bank specified by them. Means it was my choice that I want to receive foreign contributions in this particular account. That bank should be a scheduled bank. That was the condition, and I should specify this to the authorities. And I may open more accounts in other banks for utilization of the contribution. This was there. But 2020 amendment stipulated that foreign contribution must be received only in an account designated by the bank as FCRA account, and that account can be only in the State Bank of India, New Delhi branch, nowhere else. Means the government is tightening its grip over the foreign contribution coming in. Now only in that SBI branch of New Delhi you can open an FCRA account, and no funds other than the foreign contribution should be received or deposited in this account. That is there. This account cannot be used for depositing any non-foreign contribution. renewal of licenses. Under the Act, every person who has been given a certificate of registration must renew the certificate within 6 months of expiration. This clause was inserted with 2010, I would say in the 2010 law. Earlier, the 1976 law said ki once you are registered for lifetime, permanent registered you are. But 2010 law said that your registration will expire after every 5 years and you have to renew it. So this point says that the registration must renew the certificate within 6 months of expiration. The 2020 amendment provides that the government may conduct an inquiry before renewing the certificate. And if in that inquiry something suspicious is found, government can suspend also your registration. Use of foreign contribution for administrative purpose. Now earlier 2010 law said that 50% for administrative purpose can be used, not more than that. 2020 law said that not more than 20% you can use for administrative purpose. So it further restricted to from 50% to 20%, 2020 amendment. Then suspension. Under the Act, the government may suspend the registration of a person for a period not exceeding 180 days. And the 2020 clause added that another 180 days means for 1 year, 180 plus 180 is 360, which is almost equal to 1 year. For 1 year, it can be suspended when you go for renewal. Some rules were notified last year in 2022, which relaxed some things. If the amount exceeds rupees 10 lakh, the individuals will have 3 months to inform the government against 30 days earlier. Now, the individuals have to inform the government if the received amount is above 10 lakh. Earlier, we had only 30 days to inform, now we have 3 months to inform. The entities that can receive this includes political parties, legislature members, election candidates, government servants, judges, journalists and media houses. You might be surprised that all these were banned and now these are allowed, who were all barred earlier from receiving foreign contribution. They can, but under strict watch. The time limit prescribed for intimation to the central government for application of obtaining registration or prior permission under FCRA to receive funds has been increased from 15 days to 45 days. Also, in a separate notification, the list of compoundable offences under FCRA was increased to 12 from 7. Now there are 12 compoundable offences instead of 7. What are compoundable offences? They are those where the complainant can agree to take back the charges levied against the accused. So kind of a mutual settlement is there. So this is there. Now NewsClick has been, charged under this FCRA. The journalists and media houses were allowed. But did they inform the government because they had 3 months time? I don't think so. They informed the government. That is why they violated the rules. They violated the law. So this is the scenario. Next is the Global Hunger Index. The Global Hunger Index highlights basically the levels of undernourishment, undernutrition, as well as availability of food. This index is released every year by a Europe-based NGO called as Welt Hunger Life. It is not released by any, I would say, multilateral organization like the United Nations or something like that, but an NGO releases it. And it has, positioned India at 111th position on the Global Hunger Index 2023. 111 out of 125. Last year, 2022, we were 107 out of 121. And this is the link. You can click on this link and you can read the entire report. The PDF of the report is there. And that is, from the website of Global Hunger Index only. Now this is the map. It is just descriptive in nature. I want to highlight one thing why I included this map. You're seeing the grey regions or the grey countries like these. These are the grey countries. Western Europe, North America and all, here Australia. These are not counted. That is why 125 countries are only there. Global Hunger Index does not account these countries because these are high net worth income countries or high income countries. and hence there is an assumption that high income means no hunger. So they are not counted. Second, you see the green portions, greens are where low hunger is there. The light green ones where moderate hunger is there. Yellow, serious, India lies in the serious category this year also. Orange is alarming, these are alarming, and the red ones are basically extremely alarming, which fortunately no country in the world was there in this extremely alarming category, and grey ones not included, which I covered the first. Now what has been the global trend 2020 versus 2023? Sorry, not 2020, it is 2000. This is, I would say, a misprint. So over these 23 years, how has been the progress? There were 7 countries in the extremely alarming category in 2000. Now there are no countries, 0 countries. There were 31 countries in the alarming category. Now there are 9 countries in the alarming category, reduced. There were 29 countries in the serious category. There are 34 countries in the serious category. India is over here. 36 countries were there in the moderate category. 37 countries are there in the moderate category. 19 countries were in the low category, and 50 countries are in this low category now. This is an achievement. And the biggest achievement I feel is this: no country is there in the alarming category now. This is something, actually the progress, and this is a screenshot from this year's report. If you click that link, a PDF will open and you'll see that one of those pages is this. So you need to see the progress also. About the index, the Global Hunger Index is a tool designed to comprehensively measure and track hunger at the global, regional and country level. High income countries are not included, the grey countries, if you remember. The GHI has been released by World Hunger Life, lately in partnership with Concern Worldwide since 2000. So both of these have been releasing this index. This ranks countries on a 100-point scale, with 0 being the best score, means 0 hunger, and 100 being the worst, means a lot of hunger is there, but technically speaking no country achieves 0, no country achieves 100, although neither of these extremes is reached actually. GHI scores, now this is very, very important. GHI scores are evaluated on 4 parameters divided in 3 broad categories. The first is undernourishment. It talks about availability of food. Next is child stunting and child wasting. This is basically under nutrition. We are not only talking about calorie intake, but what quality of calorie intake is happening. Child stunting is when a child remains short heighted as per his, I would say, weight or height, his age, and wasting is basically when a child remains too thin as compared to his height, for his height. So this is undernourishment. And next is child mortality, means those children who are dying under 5 years of age. Death can be due to various factors like nutrition is not proper, food availability is not there, healthcare is not proper, vaccination programs are not proper. All these factors can lead to their death, that is child mortality. So we see this, the 3 broad categories. If what I talked about was the child undernutrition, 1/3 weightage is given to it, wasting is here, stunting is here. I'll show you what wasting and stunting means. Child mortality is the second category, that is under 5 mortality rate, how many children are dying under 5. Inadequate food supply, that is undernourishment, the third category, measures inadequate food supply, how much it is there or not. So these are the 3 broad categories and 4 indicators: undernourishment, undernutrition, these 2, stunting and wasting, and child mortality, the third category. Now malnutrition comes in various forms. This word you might come across, we have come out of this GHI for now, as of now, but we should understand what does this word malnutrition means. In common sense or in whatever we have heard, you'll always feel that it is lack of nutrition. But actually the definition of malnutrition is not lack of nutrition, but yes, it is basically the inappropriate availability of nutrition. Like for example, stunting is one form of malnutrition where people are too short as compared to their age. They should have been this tall, but they are this tall. Wasting, they are too thin as for their height. And this is over, I would say, intake of nutrition. Obesity it is also a form of malnutrition. So by looking at this image, we can say that malnutrition is a condition where inappropriate availability or inappropriate nutrition is taken. Not only always lack, it can be excess also. Findings of GHI 2023, what are the findings? This is important. India's score is 28.7. Now let me remind you that if the score is near to 0, the better it is. And we are placed in the serious category, that is the third from the bottom, or third from the top, sorry. India's GHI score has deaccelerated 38.8 in 2000 to the range of 28.2 to 29.1 between 2014 and 2022, and finally to 28.7 in 2023. So last year it was 29.1, now it is 28.7, means the score has bettered, but ranking is alarming. Now this particular fact actually opened my eyes that what it is. We have performed below Sri Lanka. We are helping Sri Lanka come out of the economic crisis. Sri Lanka is ranking 60. We are performed below Nepal. Nepal is dependent upon us for its essentials. Bangladesh is one of our largest trading partner, means in South Asia it is our largest trading partner, that has also performed better than us. And our beloved neighbor Pakistan is also ranked 102. That is why the government has raised questions. Last year also it has raised questions on the methodology which you are following for evaluating global hunger index. According to the domestic indicators, hunger and poverty are reducing. The government is running such schemes like the, I would say, National Food Security Act, in which free of cost 5 kg food grains are available, or 35 kg food grains per household are available to the Antyodaya households. During the COVID years, we ran National Food Security Act plus the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, which was for providing food, wheat, rice, coarse grains to the people at free of cost, or I would say reduced amount of prices. And despite that, we are performing too low. What is the reason? The government has questioned its methodology. The opposition is saying that the government is not performing well, the opposition is taking advantage of this particular index. But how can it be? See, we are performing below them. Afghanistan is the only country in South Asia that performs worse than India on the index. Many countries, I would say 20 countries, including China, Turkey, Kuwait, UAE and all, shared the top rank with GHI score of less than 5. They are more closer to 0. India's previous ranking, 101 out of 116 countries in 2021, 107 out of 121 countries in 2022. These were India's previous rankings on this particular, I would say, index. But this is actually a matter of concern, whether hunger does exist so much in India, or the government is not able to implement those National Food Security Act properly. What is the major issue? Is the methodology wrong? That has to be found out. But all in all, poverty and hunger, they have to be tackled. These are twin evils which countries like India are still facing. We won't be able to call ourselves a Viksit Desh or a Viksit Bharat by 2047 if we do not tackle these kind of evils by 2030. The Sustainable Development Goals also talk about this, that we have to eradicate poverty and hunger. Eradicate means it should be zero. Zero hunger, they talk about it. So let's see what our efforts are going to be, how they are going to be, and let's hope for the best. So this is it from today's session. I will be meeting you tomorrow with some more news pieces. I have got some requests also in the comment section. I'll try to cover them up, considering the fact that they are relevant for UPSC or not. Till then, you guys keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste, Jai Hind.